Your train vacation to Europe starts from rupees 99,999 only with GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Kalki was one of the few films where I never got any reference. For Kalki, it is good if people have low expectations on the music.
Nagi, when he came to you, did you ask him, why me?
Yeah, that was the first question I asked.
Okay.
This is my 50th movie.
Kalki's your 50th?
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hello, Santhosh Narayanan. Welcome to Galatta Plus.
Hello, Baddie.
You've become this fashion icon. Like, you're like wearing these incredibly cool clothes.
Tell them the truth. 10 minutes ago. That's me now. It's just Meenakshi she has been a great support. You all know that, and she likes doing this on me. So I'm literally detached from this.
You're the canvas.
I don't care.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, because like 10 minutes ago, you're in shorts and a t-shirt, and suddenly you've become this
fine.
incredible guy. But let's talk about your music and let's talk about Kalki, right? So the last time we met, you said you went to a whole bunch of places around the world and worked with a whole bunch of local musicians trying to create some new sounds. Let's begin with this. Which are the places you visited, and can you give an example of something that you picked up from one particular place?
Sure. Yeah. Basically, with this movie, the biggest advantage that we all had was we had time to work on or build something from scratch or try a completely new idea. Whatever we wanted to do, we had the resources and time. So literally, it's I think 3 years, right? Almost 3 years. I think we met almost a year ago or so.
Yeah.
So it started with me traveling to a place to record, and then it became I will record wherever I go. So it became that. So whenever I travel to the UK or Sri Lanka or Australia or South Africa, I started recording local musicians, and there's a lot of tribal music in the film, and there's also it's set in the future. It's like all the yugas together, right? So I could potentially start off with recording people I liked, and then something that would fit, and sometimes we would just go without an agenda, record a bunch of people, and then I'll send it back to Nagi, and that's how all the collaborations that you see were happening, and it is an amazing process. I want to do this more, and I think this gave me a new workflow to work in any film score.
So basically, you're saying when you went and recorded this music, you did not have a particular scene in mind or something like that. You just pretty much said, "This sounds interesting. Let me record it."
No, that was one small part of the whole thing, but most of it was planned. But I always, you know me, like I always have that small space left for something crazy, and we have actually found one or two bits that fit well with the score. That things that we didn't go with things that we went without a plan.
Like, can you give me an example?
I was in Uganda for a different reason, and then I suddenly remembered that it is a land of the drums. So I quickly got in touch with the local acts, and I was lucky enough to meet Mr. Kadu from Uganda. He's an amazing musician. He's also an arranger. He got me in touch with this amazing tribal group. So I just went and recorded some stuff on my iPhone, and that ended up being in the film. The recording that we did on the iPhone, it sounded incredible, and it was a big bunch of drummers who play incredibly well. And then we went back again through the kitchen sink at the whole scene, and then we recorded them also. But that recording also is part of the film. It's a very important part of the film. That's one. There are many examples I can go on, but this is on top of my mind.
Right. This movie looks like a very big Hollywood movie. Especially big movies, create a theme for each character, and then you'd create a theme for maybe location or something like that, so that variations of that theme will be played. And is that the approach you took for this film?
Yeah, this has I would call this an epic from India. Personally, that's how I always called it, and it definitely looks international, and Nagi has been very particular that it should be our story, and there was no gimmick in terms of using CGI or VFX, whatever. There's no gimmicks. It is all set to a plan, and I think he has executed and he has created something that all of us Indians can be proud of. That's what I personally felt when I watched the film. So when it came to the music, he told me that it has to have soul on one side, and there is this big, massive like moments of all those like those Marvel and all those moments. No? We have many of those moments, and he asked me to just throw the kitchen sink at it when you have those moments, and also keep it soulful. And also he wanted it to be very rooted to our culture, like India and the Telugu culture and the Mahabharata, whatever the epics and all the Puranas that we know.
Right.
So we had there are like 4 or 5 worlds that we tried to. I still have the folders called boxes, world boxes, and then we'll put files into those boxes, move them around, and kind of arrive at themes for. We have themes for literally all the main characters, like,
Right.
and we have done it from an Indian perspective. The perspective is totally Indian, and the approach is very Telugu, and it's also very rooted. And we wanted it to appeal to the international audience too, in a way that they might not have experienced Indian films. So that was the approach, but I don't know how it's going to sound, but this is what we thought on paper. Yeah.
Right. So let's take the 4 major characters, right? That is Prabhas, Amitabh Bachchan, Deepika, Kamal Hassan. These are the like the 4.
And Bujji.
And Bujji, yeah.
Yeah.
The 5 major characters. For each of these, can you give an example of, let's say, an instrument that you used,
Yeah.
or like an approach that you took, whether you used like Western stuff or Indian stuff for each of these?
For Bachchan sir, we wanted to keep it ancient, sound as ancient as possible, and also have a wide, like a orchestrated, like an Indian classical music forged into like a big orchestral theme some way, in a way, but which can sound very Indian. Have the time signatures can be like probably like 7/8 or whatever. Like we can 5/8, 7/8, those things that work in the traditional sense of the word. So that was what we thought for Amitabh Bachchan sir, and you might have heard the theme.
Yeah.
There is a whistle, and we wanted to use more wind instruments for the ancient stuff, because we really don't know what instruments were there. And for sure I know that there was a flute, because that is probably the first ever instrument. When there was wind on bamboo trees, there would have been sound that might have become the flute. So then we wanted to use vocals and whistle and all those stuff for the ancient. And for Prabhas, I don't know, without telling you the details,
Yeah.
for Prabhas we had 2-3 kinds of sounds for the world that he's traveling, because you know that he's a bounty hunter from the trailer. So he's just traveling in the film. So it changes from one thing to another to an epic or whatever. So that was the approach for Prabhas. For Kamal sir, we wanted to
Just to stop you there. So you mean to say, unlike with the Amitabh Bachchan character, for Prabhas, it's a more dynamic.
yeah, it's a very dynamic, because he keeps traveling. Right? Any bounty hunter travels. That's I don't even need to say it's a giveaway, but he travels.
Yeah.
Right? So that is a motive that will travel with him, and it becomes different things as the movie progresses.
Right. And what are the primary instrument that you use for that,
Uh,
or sound?
yeah, for Prabhas, I wanted to use a very modern sound. I wanted to mix kind of 808s, brass, and then all the sounds also from the 80s movies. No? We have those kinds of
Like techno?
Rajinikanth.
Like a techno stuff?
Not techno, but the Tamil Telugu film sound of the 80s, no?
Like
Raja sir's brass, no? There's those mass brass
Yeah.
from the Dalapati or all those epics from Telugu. So I wanted to fuse these 3 to fit, because he's a very unique, very fun character in the film, and he is the unique character out of all of these characters from the music perspective. So I use a lot of brass and 808s and orchestras, and then it becomes things that I don't want to discuss about. So, and for Kamal sir, I went to Australia for recording a theme for Kamal sir, and I recorded the didgeridoo for him and whatever. I think we have a small glimpse of that in the trailer, the release trailer, and it was more based on like low grunge vocals and didgeridoos, and it'll be and some ethnic Indian drums and whatever. So his character is like very it is him. The whole movie is about his character, you know, from the trailer you might have seen. That was one thing. And for Deepika, we have released quite a few. There was one theme that I released in my concert in Chennai, the Nievoli concert, that is attached to the film and also a part of Deepika. The Comic Con teaser that came in has the Deepika theme in it. And Buji, Buji is more kids.
Just don't run.
Yeah.
So Deepika, the primary instrument or tonality is?
Tonality will be female vocals and I wanted to have a more solo vocal that can, like, I love the sound of Enya from Lord of the Rings or whatever the epics. So she wanted
Something
to
very
have
emotional.
something that can, and I feel like Deepika's character is like the crux of the film and it's very connected soulfully. So we wanted to have the soulful sound with like a lead vocal and a big backing and all. And Bachchan sir, Bachchan sir.
Yeah.
Did I leave any? Buji.
Buji.
Yeah, Buji I think is the only non-character that is so big already. No? So if you had watched B&B, the series, you'll get an idea of how Buji was found and what she thinks of Bhairava, what is their relationship. It's not Bhairava's pet. They are not in, it's almost like they are in a relationship.
Yeah.
So that's how Buji is like super advanced. Like right now we have GPT-4 or whatever. Like imagine 800 years in the future. It just thinks it's a person, and we wanted to give. I think the first movie I watched when I came to Chennai was Spider-Man, the first Tobey Maguire one, and for me I was really like internalizing to like work on something like that. So and my expression for Buji will be how I watched Spider-Man, how I wanted the audiences to experience Buji. That's where my inspiration came from. And the sound, it's a lot of kids, and Buji is a mass character. So we had a kids thing, we had a regular kind of a, how do you say this? An Indian mass kind of a setup for the character, yeah.
Right.
Hope I'm not telling you too much.
No. It's see, you're just giving enough so that when we see the movie, we can kind of catch on to some of these
but
things.
this is all of this is what I think. It has to connect. I think we've put in our efforts, but it has to connect to the audiences. We will say 100 different great things, but yeah, let's see.
Right. Different directors have different ways of briefing their music directors, right? So what is Nag Ashwin's approach? Does he give you specific examples and say, I want something like this? Or does he say, this is the situation, what do you think the music should be? What is the...
Kalki was one of the few films where I never got any reference for music.
Okay.
There was no reference. He just gave me an edit and just asked me to react to it. But then he's extremely specific with what he wants. Then if you're going in the direction that he doesn't want, and he has this like uncanny way of like letting you know that it doesn't work. He will never tell you. And I'm finding this from even the other interviews that the big stars are giving. No, they'll be like, this the set is silent, but then this guy is just there. It doesn't work, and it's kind of more like a monk in the team. I'll probably show him something, I'll get excited, and he'll be like, okay, and then he'll come back to me the next day, probably like wait for me to settle down and tell me that it doesn't work, and he'll tell me exactly what he wanted. He will tell me like, I would have scored a scene in a traditional sense. Then he'll tell me like, see this reaction, I want this to be underlined, and then it'll give a totally different perspective. So that I've found this with Karthik Subbaraj a lot. So he'll tell me, gee, this scene in the look at him turning around, I want that to be highlighted, and then you look at the scene in a totally different way, and that happened like almost every minute in B&B. B&B is it's an anime series, so he went crazy with how he wanted the changeovers and all that. So it was an amazing experience. So I have no complaints. I learned a lot from this amazing director, and I want him to surge ahead in the cinematic world in the future.
Right. So when he tells you that, okay, this is what you've scored. Let's say you've scored something with violins and let's say a string section, right? You've scored something with a string section, and he's saying, I want this changed. Would that mean you just change the emphasis of the string section, or would you redo it with other instruments probably?
Yeah, there have been some moments where like I had a big orchestral theme. I was very happy, like kind of a show off. level that we kind of achieved because we had time, no? We sat and wrote, and then we recorded a big orchestra. And then he watched, and I showed him the scene. And he watched it, and he said, and it had I would say, a tinge of John Williams' style of writing, the brass and it looked like a big epic scene, like how we would see Jurassic Park. You know? That was also the inspiration. He just told me like, just avoid John Williams in this film. That was like that. You know, he was just so. He told me in simple terms. I was like, hey, I think we have something. I think we can avoid this, whatever you call this John Williams thing or whatever. Like, and then like it for a moment I was like shocked, but then when went back and watched it all over together, it definitely felt a little bit alien. And then we sat and worked on the theme again, and we recorded. We I think we recorded the most number of sessions with orchestras for this film, and it was an amazing experience for me also personally.
Which orchestra did you use?
We recorded in London, we recorded in Macedonia, we recorded in Australia, and we recorded in India also. The Indian brass section I love, and we recorded a big like a 40 to 60 piece choir section for the film. The Indian choral ensemble headed by Karthik Manikavaskam and Kalyani, they did some amazing work in the film. I hope you'll hear it all in the score, maybe. Yeah.
In terms of number of years that you've put in, and in terms of the sheer volume of work, this has probably got to be your biggest project so far, right? In terms of
Yeah.
So when you kind of you're at the stage now where it's all done.
Yeah.
Is there a sense of like separation anxiety?
Somehow I just don't connect that way to any work of mine. Once it's exported, I just blank out. That's it. I just go move on to the
That's
next.
it. You're not emotional about your work at all.
Never. I've never been. Sometimes, like initially when I was working as a programmer, I worked on around 500, 600 of the movies that you'll never see in a theater, or movies that just went there. People just hated it, max. People just troll. And at that point, I was just going through trauma, and I've done so much, and nothing's happening, and nothing's working. And then at one point, I will feel and I experience the fun, and I love working on it. And then the day we give the export, there'll be a total disconnect, and I just move on to the next. And in Kalki, I think I really put a lot of heart and soul into this. So I'm happy in a way that we could deliver what Nagi also envisioned, at least at some level. And I'm waiting for the audiences to react. I'm like open for anything. Like I don't really.
Right. Now, you also mentioned that this is like past, present, and future, the different yugas, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Just like you described how you scored for the various characters, can you give a hint of how you treated the time periods?
Yeah, the ancient period, we really kept it. We have seen all the epics, right? We have literally anybody would have seen Mahabharata and Ramayana on television, and there is a specific nature to the music of that, and we have consumed it and we have accepted it to be. There could be instruments that are not even from that era, but we have consumed it and we have internalized those whole things, and it will be an ode to that era and all the big epics that come out of Telugu. It's kind of my homage to the film Telugu film space. I love the. I think for me, one of my earlier movies that I watched was Magadira. So that's when I got hooked to this whole this new wave of Telugu films. There was a wave always.
Oh, I thought you meant like N.T. Ramarao and that phase. So it's
No, Patal Bhairavi was one of my most favorite films of all time.
Right.
And then recently Magadira, and I got hooked to the sound of it. So that's the kind of approach I've tried in the
older
the
period.
the ancient, we can call it the past or whatever.
What about Magadira exactly? The bigness of it?
Yeah, the Magadira, Bahubali, and all the Mr. Rajamouli and Mr. M.M. Kiravani, they have a specific sound palette, right? I think it would be a homage to the kind of sounds that they've created, and the present will be like all crazy. All of my craziness you can watch with Prabhas, and all the Jigardanda fun and all the. And there was one very happy thing that has happened at this scale. Nagi let me just go crazy with the craziness, and I love you. Many of my friends will know that I love being crazy with certain elements in music. So I could totally do that in some of the epic scenes also. So that was an amazing thing to happen for me. And the
When you say crazy, like, again, give me a.
crazy, Sudugam level crazy, like how do I say it? Jigardanda one. There's some how do I call it? What is the word? Some quirky, fun,
Like the vocalizing, for instance.
yeah, vocalizing and things that you would never expect suddenly in a score. Like then it has happened in a lot of movies. We see it in movies like Guardians of Galaxies, on the
Yeah.
Avengers. They got it really right? Like all the characters, some characters just there to troll people, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of fun I could work with music, and I feel that it is a big thing that we can present this in a movie at this level, where people are making fun of each other, no? So at this scale is a very hard thing to write, and I think Nagi has captured it really well.
Right. And the future?
In the future, the other stuff at a Shambhala world, Nagi has spoken about this Shambhala, the world, and it is those people who, and in the future, like Ganga is like dry, there's no water, there's no fuel also, and people, there's only one place where all the people have to live. There's no other place. Like it's in Kasi, and there's just, you see this complex and all, right? So for that, inside this whole area, there are like all kinds of ethnicities will be there, and 2-3 kinds of communities will be, like the complex community is like the super rich, and who are like, who have everything literally. They have even like having fruits and food and water is a big luxury in that era. So there's a sound definitely for that. I've kept it very. I've tried to go against the grain a bit in certain areas where you think definitely this is going to be the sound of it. Like you've kind of moved away from, even Nagi has moved away. The future doesn't look all that like super things that you will never even think of. There are worn out elements. There'll be a worn out ship. There'll be a worn out house and all, even in the future, right? So there are like 4-5 worlds, and I hope people like connect to it musically also. And I loved watching the film in a flow. I sometimes I'll just start playing, I'll just start watching the film. So that was the impact it had on me. Yeah.
In a movie of this scale, how many risks have you taken in terms of trying to keep the mood, but without using the traditionally associated instruments and tonalities used for the mood? You're kind
Yeah,
of.
I've totally got it. I think the biggest risk was them choosing to work with me. That itself, the risk was taken because I will only go with the flow, and especially I'm working with Nagi in the biggest possible sense, and he's like stitching the score with me. But I think sound wise, I will approach things from a slightly different perspective. That's what people told me. But I feel like in my own mind, I have this sound for epicness or whatever. So I feel like I just expressed myself fully in this film, and Nag and the whole production, they've been very supportive. And because we had time, we could do so many versions of a scene, and we could sit and just then like do an A/B comparison, that which would never happen in a traditional sense, because there'll be like 500 tracks of something, and literally you'll be limited by your tech to do such big experiments. So because we had time, we could bring in all the gear we have, and try so many different things. And there are some scenes where I would just go against the grain, like I told you in the last question, and then there are some scenes where we will want to underline it in a very rooted Telugu sense, in every sense of the word.
Right.
And there are scenes where he would just ask me to just go crazy on, and then I'll just go into that zone. And I also have some odes to some of the Tamil stuff that I've done. So they'll definitely, I think the Tamil audiences might connect to some of the themes that is like my tribute to some of the directors I've worked with in Tamil.
Your own music, that is.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So, did you ever ask Nagi when he came to you? Did you ask him why me?
Yeah, that was the first question I asked.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, my friend Pradeep Madugla, the guy who did my very first film, the Advaitam, the short film in Telugu, and he won a national award. That was my very first film to release. It was in 2008. It was a short film though. He called me once, and I just attended the call, and he was just saying, "See, he attends calls." And there was this thing going on that I don't answer any calls at all. But there was a point early in my career when I was because I was struggling financially a lot before I started movies, and the first 3-4 movies I had to manage everything, and it was going good, but I just couldn't find the resources to even appoint a manager, and slowly I was growing. Maybe from that time there was a big thing going on that I don't just answer any calls or whatever. So Pradeep was like, "Hey, see, I think the producer was testing me to check if he doesn't even answer. Nagi wants to work with him. He likes his music or whatever." So I connected and I went and met Nag. My first question was, I heard it's a big epic, and it has like I kind of knew about the film, and I was like, "Why me? Why did you want to work with me?" He said, "Of course there are some big moments, and I'm sure that see, the mass scenes can be treated. It is kind of easier than treating the soulful scenes. That how even I felt. All musicians, it could be a thing that people don't accept, but working on a mass scene is kind of slightly easier than cracking a very soulful or a sad scene, because that or even comedy in that sense. Now people will say comedy is harder than actually doing a heroic kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So he told me that he liked some of my works. I think he mentioned Cuckoo and some other movies, Madras and some movies, and he said that he wanted that kind of a soul element in the film. So I was very happy, and I was like, "Hey, are you doing? If you want soul at this scale, then definitely it should be very interesting." And then we sat, and it was an 18-hour conversation that we had. And
You had an 18-hour
yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
That was the first
First
time.
time we met, and
Had you met before?
never.
The
never.
first time you met Nag
It
Ashwin?
just went on to from the I think afternoon to the late night. I would say like around 10 hours, not 18, 8 to 10 hours. It was a long conversation. I loved everything about me. I got excited. I started writing down points. I wanted to have like the whistle, the flute, all those ideas came up on that meeting only. Yeah, but I'm very grateful that all of our team and all of us could express ourselves in this film.
Santhosh Narayanan makes very good music for offbeat, quirky directors like Karthik Subaraj, this, that, like, all that. But for the mainstream stuff, like let's say a Vijay movie or something like that, somehow the music doesn't catch on as much as it should. For example, I love that Aragia Sudana Puve. That's something very catchy for me. I don't know why, maybe sometimes because the movie doesn't do well, sometimes the song doesn't, whatever it is. But what do you think of this urban myth or whatever it is that Santosh does well in this space, but this this hardcore commercial space is something that have you heard of that?
Yeah, always. Yeah, I look at all the only thing I look when I go to social media is the criticism, and there has been a lot of criticism for whatever we have put out for Kalki also from the local the Telugu.
You see all the videos, read all the.
I saw. I never get affected or like I don't like stay sad or something, but definitely I look at it. For Kalki, it is good if people have low expectations on the music. I think that you will only be surprised if it's any better, no? So I think it's a good feeling to have. But I think Bhairava was definitely a learning experience. I actually liked working on Bhairava, and I thought that I had put in some effort on the film. But yeah, we take all the criticism and we learn and move ahead. And Bhairava, I think, was like 6 years ago, 7, 8 years ago.
Quite,
yeah, 7, 8 years ago. A lot has changed, and I'm sure that in the recent past, like I've kind of, especially after starting to perform also, no? And that element, I don't know. It depends on how people perceive Kalki also. I think Kalki might be a thing to judge that thought on. Maybe.
Right. Now, as of this moment when we are speaking, which is a Monday, and the film is releasing on Thursday, there has been only one song released from the film, which is the song with Diljit Dosanjh.
Yeah.
Any particular reason the other ones are not out yet?
Yeah, it is a very big soundtrack, and
no, the OST is separate. I'm talking just about
in terms of like the score is different. I'm talking about the music, the songs. It has a lot of songs, and there are a few songs that needs to be watched. You can even release on the day of release or whatever, and there are some coming up in the next couple of days also. And it was strategically planned by the team, and they wanted this to be done at this stage, and they have been very, and because this is a very unique, special, huge film, I didn't want them to feel pressured with the regular approach of how films are like marketed in India. That's sometimes it feels like the main character or the hero or the female lead has to carry the entire burden of the commercials or the how well people take it. No, so they have. I think they have done a lot of world building in Kalki. They haven't really like mounted it on either Bachchan sir or Prabhas or Kamal sir or Deepika or in fact Bujji or whatever, just one song or whatever. So I'm kind of working for the vision. There is of course a traditional way of doing things. People just release one song and then there's an audio launch, and then for Kabali we actually went against the grain and it worked so well for the opening, right? How people perceive the movie after watching it is different, but the hype it created, that was humongous. The teaser was something that there's just one dialogue,
siren like sound, and
sound, and I think when people go against the grain in a big film, I love being part of those things, and I'm sure that and we are all seeing it how humongous the expectation is getting, and people are, it's becoming a frenzy now to get to watch Kalki on day one. I think they have done it right, and I have everything to ready to deliver, and we'll just go. There's a plan by the production, and I'm all happy to hear them out.
Yeah. Every director that I've asked says, which was the toughest movie you made? They say every movie is tough in its own way. There's no such thing as an easy movie or a tough movie. Would you say the same thing for soundtracks as well, or music as well, that every score that you have is, or was Kalki especially difficult in certain ways?
Kalki had a lot of work, but I don't, because like see, from how I was before I started films, I was literally on the streets, so I think it cannot be tough. If I can get ready like this in 10 minutes, I've had tough before I started movies. It was really, but even though that was only financial struggles, I didn't have any resources. I only had this idea of what to do, but I didn't have anything in hand. I'll call those timelines as tough in a sense, but I'm just enjoying this. And Kalki had a lot of work. Like we sometimes, because it involves so much CG and VFX, and things get trimmed a bit, and then we have to like the music might go out of sync, and there's a lot of things to be very sure that it works. Sometimes with the CGI, there might be a length change because of the rendering frame. There's so many simple things on paper, but as a musician, because all our sessions are like tempo mapped and all that, but it's all, everybody does it. All the big epics across the world, people do this. But it was especially, that was the toughest if you ask me, but I wouldn't even put it in that actual tough list. Within this was kind of what we did.
Are you also trying to say that because you had so much fun, it didn't seem like work?
Yeah, I was actually so, the sense of gratitude was there. I was so happy that they could include me. Every like other day I would be like sending messages, is this working? This is your last week and all. If something doesn't work, let me know. That's how I was approaching it, because I was having fun. I loved what I did for the film, and I'm very excited to see how audiences react to how we have approached it. Yeah.
Right. Sopran Priyanka, that Vajanti movies, they are the producers of this film. Now, you're not a typical Telugu music director because you come from the Tamil industry. When Nagi told them that I want Santhosh for this, did they have a reaction at all? As in, like,
I think the only thing was like they wanted me to have a separate number for this project. That was it. So I thought it's so easy. Because if I'm not answering calls, I wouldn't be able to do like 50 movies and all that.
You had a separate SIM for this, for Kalki.
That's on emergency basis. That'll be always on. That'll be on my left. Nagi has this way of working, and it is very, very different to how a traditional team works, a traditional director works on set or with the technicians, he will just he'll walk to the actor. He will not even shout on the mic. He'll just walk to the actor, and I think the walk has become dreaded now. They'll be like, "Oh, Nagi is coming to." He won't say anything. He'll say very nice things. He'll be like, "Actually, like they're all waiting," and he will have this approach with anybody. Like it doesn't matter. There's no. He won't flip at all. So like, I think people are like literally like, if this guy flips, that's it. That's how people thought, and the producers, they wanted the core technicians to really find what he wants also. They're not just ask him and then he might is very he doesn't use many words, and he's a man of very few words. He's like a polar opposite of how I am at home. So the producers wanted us to kind of sense where this is going and create our arts or whatever art form based on how we also perceive what Nag wants. So that's why they gave us all the time and all. That was a major thing that we kind of followed, and it helped the project in a huge way, I guess.
And let me just tell you this. I have a theory about why I like your music, because the one thing that I associate with you is that you're very unpredictable. That's your thing, because that approach seems to come from the heart almost. I don't know how to put it, but it's like,
I really don't know. It's
But-
just your,
but-
I think
but-
yeah, it's your inference. I don't know. I don't know. I think if you sit and work with me, you'll laugh and leave.
yeah, no, but I'm saying,
doesn't come
what
from
I'm saying
anywhere.
is it's not a very calculated approch.
Yeah.
It's like a very instinctive,
Yeah.
like it flows.
Yeah.
You know, that's the feeling that I
Yeah,
get.
I think I kind of know where it stems from, and like even when I have conversations with friends, I always there's a lot of banter when I'm there, no. So I'm always finding this alternate thing to say in a conversation. I think it probably stems from how I am as an individual at home or with friends, no. That's how you think also,
Right.
So something uncanny, maybe something different, but still try to find it in the popular space, maybe. So that was one of my initial dreams, to like do something. That's what I look when I look at MS. Those three musicians, I always tell the whole world, MSV sir and Raja sir and Raman sir, no, all of them did something totally different to each other, no, when they started. So for me, I would always sit and think like, oh, would when in the early days, like, would AR, does this sound like at that point, like sounding something like an AR song was an achievement. We were like, hey, this sounds like one Rahman song. Oh, do you work in the night and all? People ask me, and they work in Logic Pro. So now you sound like AR. That's how people took it. So I think probably it stems from the fact that we really want to break the kind of sound that is already prevalent, and it's good. It's not bad. It's good. People are loving it, but I don't know, man. I might just be blabbering here.
No, it's not blabbering. See, because first of all, it's very hard to describe one's own.
Yeah.
See, for me, I'm looking at it from a listener point of view.
Yeah.
Whereas from a creator, so much is coming from your own instinct and unconscious
Yeah.
that is very difficult to probably
Yeah.
put it in words.
Yeah, I think the best way to explain it is for one award function. I think for Jigadanda, Meenakshi was not in town, and those were the times when people will call me and say, "Sir, we have award function. Please pant. You should wear pant." So that was the level at which I was. Even now, I'm like that. So I got dressed up, perfect, and I went with supreme confidence into the thing. And then one of my director friends, like a big director, he came, and he came with another reviewer, like a movie reviewer. He came and said, "Hey, meet Santhosh Narayanan." I'm like, I'm showing off literally. Look how simple he is. That's what I love about him. So I really don't know how
And you thought you were really dressed up and
I'm fully dressed up. I'm literally showing off. There's a subtitle coming up, like, and I'm saying, like, look at me, Then he's like, look how simple he's dressed. This is what I love about him. That is the answer to your question. I really don't. I'm probably trying this super popular fun thing. It's landing as something different. I don't know.
right. So, as the last question, I want to ask you, from Atakati to Kalki, it's been what, like a 12-year journey?
Yeah, 12 years, and this is my 50th movie.
Kalki's your 50th.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah. That's a what this is a good
I didn't know. My one of my boys, like, they sent me the boys who works for me, he sent me an Excel sheet. Like, Anna, do you know it's your 50th film? But Kalki started out to be my 35th or something.
and it took so
It became a 50th film. So I'm like asking everybody else to like avoid any audio launches or whatever. Let this be the 50th. But in a fun way. There's nothing coming up though.
no, but that's great. So how do you think you've evolved as a musician?
I'm definitely learning. Yeah, learning every day, literally, because I look at myself as a terribly trained musician, and the people I worked with, they have been my mentors, teachers, like all of those, like Praveen Mani to Pradeep to Karthik Manikavasam to Sundarji to Sai Shravanam to like so many people, Anantu. I can go on and on. I've learned a thing or two from everybody, and because I'm kind of detached to what I do or how I work or whatever, I think I can sometimes find a nice mix of things that sometimes works, and I have a lot of gratitude to the people and especially the producers and directors, and now I'm also moving forward with D's English album that's coming
Right,
up.
the independent space.
The independent space is something I'm so grateful to all of these people, including the audiences, producers, all the reviewers, people like you who have like really supported me. I've not been in the media too much. You could have said anything about me and it would have made sense also. I look like that guy always. So for me to move into this indie world, I have tons of gratitude and I have so much resources now. I have one of the biggest studios that I finished building in Chennai. I'm going to open it up for indie music like crazy. I have a big vision forward, and thanks to all of you and like especially this film Kalki, I think if people connect to how we feel, like if they feel what we feel, and then I think we are going to witness a crazy history in the making.
Nice, nice. So just to expand that last point a little further, as a musician, when you started out, you must have, like just like you said, oh, if I make a song like A.R. Rahman, that's great, or something like that. That was the early Santhosh Narayanan, right? But has anything changed in you, in the way you make music, or in the way you conceive music or think of music?
Core idea hasn't changed forever.
What's your core idea?
My core idea is let the audience experience. I told you that the thing with Spider-Man. No? When I sat and watched it, I was like, these guys have given us something to experience. I want that to be translated from my soul or brain or whatever to the audience's soul or brain, whatever the ears or whatever. So that is the only constant, and that hasn't changed. I want them to experience it in the theater, like have a lot of. And Kalki can be like one. It can be one big popcorn film. It can be one drama. You can just expect everything big, and it'll be bigger. That's how I saw the film. I was expecting an epic, and I was blown away when I watched the film. And if and when the audience connect to it, I think we are in for a new kind of cinema from India. That's what I feel.
Thank you, and all the best for Kalki. Like I said, I can't wait to experience this whole thing, because I think what's really intriguing for me is that your it looks a little futuristic, but it also looks like something from the ancient epics and all that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that mix is very.
Yeah.
Usually it's one or the other.
Yeah.
This mix looks very.
Nagi is I would definitely say it is his genius. And when I saw the film in the mix, now when in the mix you'll have more CG, include almost the final stuff.
Yeah.
When I saw it, I was so proud. I was like almost in tears watching the whole reel unfold.
I thought you detach yourself.
No. After finishing work.
Okay.
That was a mix, na?
While you're still
While
there.
I'm working, I'm putting all my soul, heart, and everything. But now I'm like, I want to watch it with the audience.
Right,
I will
right.
enjoy it definitely, and I'll take the criticism, whatever comes. And
Even though you say you take criticism, you're very detached, all that, you work 3 years on a project. Or let's not take Kalki, let's take anything, right? Let's say Kabali was not well received. You put you've broken the mold of what a Rajinikanth sound is, or what a Rajinikanth movie should sound like. You put in all that effort, let's say it's trashed. What, like, how do you react to these situations?
I won't.
You don't care at all.
No,
It's
never.
like,
Even if it is like, I don't care even if it is like they say, oh, it's amazing. People like they feel they are scared to call me and like praise me. Like when my friend, I started trolling them so much that very rarely do I get calls for a song. So when I get a call for a song, it means that they loved it. Because even like beyond my trolling them, they'll be like, no, I know you're gonna troll me, but I love this. That's what they'll tell me. So I just I don't take any of my work or myself seriously. But while doing it, I'll put, because it's somebody else's thing also, I'll just put all my heart and soul into that.
very nice.
I think it's better to be disconnected as an artist, because we're not just doing this one thing, right? In life, you're doing so many other things. If I'm going to like just sit and cry over something, it could affect. We are parallelly, like Indian film space is so unique now. I'm parallelly working on 5-6 other movies also. I cannot sulk, and then it might affect the others also. We just try to keep our chin up and stay happy. But I think because I'm meeting so many people every day now, I'm not bound within 4 walls. It's not like I don't know the world. It's not like I don't know what the commercial mass element is.
Yeah.
I know what it is. So, and because we are actually trying to do something, and we are very happy to receive. If it is cringe, I'll be happy, because cringe works, and amazing works. But something mediocre is what will affect me. So, I'll be happy to take the superlatives.
Nice. All the best again. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hola! Your dream vacation to Europe starts from rupees 99,999 only with GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.